I boiled the... Oh, that's you.
I boiled the water.
I wanted to boil the water.
I'm going to take credit.
Yeah.
What's up, you degenerates?
Oh.
It's Otaku Tuesday yet again.
Yeah, and we're here.
I'm Travis.
And I'm Eric.
And we're Bookend Gaming, and it is 8 in the morning.
What is this?
I slept on a couch last night.
Yeah.
It's the holiday weekend, and we're like, we could do a night and a day and just get a bunch of these.
That's right. We're
one after
marathoning
another. Yeah.
fruit today.
So look forward to 2 or 3 episodes from now when we're just completely winded and our voices are shot and we're just like, I can't do it. And I pass out because I have to do this breathy voice the whole time.
Right. Well, you're on a couch, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. This is my fainting couch. It's your house. I brought a couch here.
Also known as my casting couch.
Oh, God. I was wondering what that stain was. Okay, so Mr. Ochi left, but he was mad about his sausage missing.
He missed his sausage.
Yeah, don't we all?
And he's going to leave the girls
Yeah, and
behind.
everyone's sick and diarrheaing all over the place. And did they build the...
They got the toilet built.
They built the toilet? Yeah, okay. So we're pretty much caught up then.
Yeah, that's it.
The 9th day
it's
in
the
the
9th
valley.
day, and he's about to leave. So
Yeah.
here we go. All right. I'm ready.
Mentally prepare for an entire day of doing this.
The
morning of Mr. Ochi's departure from the camp was, unfortunately, a rainy one.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God. Please take care of yourself, Mr. Ochi.
I love you.
With the exception of the immobile Hirooka-san, everyone gathered in the drizzling rain to see our teacher off. Mr. Ochi stood before us, a heavy rucksack on his back, impassive to the water running down his glasses. It felt as though I was looking at a young officer about to head off for the front lines.
He's going to slip and fall
I was
down
thinking like Incredible Hulk when he's like walking down the street during the credits with the rucksack.
Yeah, rucksack on his back.
That's like an old reference. That's older than I am. As a matter of fact, there'd been some vaguely sarcastic jokes yesterday about making him one of those 1,000-stitch belt good luck charms the Imperial soldiers used to take to war.
All right. It's
before they took on Luke.
It's one of the zip pouches.
It's a shark pouch.
Yeah, get Michiru in here.
Yeah. But no matter how unreliable Mr. Ochi had been as a teacher, everyone quietly recognized that he was now our only visible glimmer of hope.
I forgot her name for a minute. I was like...
It's been so long.
Tsunade? Because she's a... No, that's just because she's a tsundere.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember any of the girls. I had a hard time remembering their names when we saw them every day.
Right.
10 members of the basketball team had survived the fall. Our belt would have come up a good 990 stitches short.
Well, that's not going to do.
Not to say that we sent him off completely empty-handed. He had the 10 stitches, I guess, although our gift was less sentimental and more practical. When the rain began to fall this morning, we hastily cut apart trash bags to create a makeshift poncho. These had been a virtual necessity on rainy days, especially before we constructed the toilet, so we had the hang of making them by this point. The poncho offered some protection from the rain while allowing free use of both arms. For a short time, at least, it would keep out the wet and prevent your body temperature from falling too dramatically. That said, in the end, it was a pretty flimsy thing.
I plan on selling them on Etsy if we get out of this. They're kind of cute.
Don't go camping without them. On a cosmetic level, it was not only distinctly ugly, it made an irritating rustling sound every time you took a step.
Oh, God.
Plus, the thing said it smelled like fresh linen, and it doesn't.
Like the shorts we used to wear in the 90s. Did you ever have any of those?
The swooshies?
Swishy pants.
Yeah, swishy pants. I hate swishy pants. Or swishy coats.
Yeah.
I can't stand them. I will freeze to death in, like, the dead of winter to avoid wearing a giant poofy coat.
Yeah.
I'll just wear a hoodie. Nonetheless,
in the end,
Mr. Ochi accepted it with a sincerely grateful thank you.
Now, where's my salami, bitch? I don't know what I did for him.
Just a dude.
Yeah.
It's like any dude voice, because all the other voices are not dudes.
All right, I'm going now. I'll get help, no matter what it takes. Until then, please just hold out somehow.
All right.
Oh.
I get older and you all stay the same.
Thing I love about high school girls.
You got my sausage? You'd be a lot cooler if you did. With those brief words, Mr. Ochi turned his back on us and immediately began to walk off. Lingering for a long farewell would have been a waste of daylight hours. Once inside the forest, the thick tree canopy would block out most of the sun's light, We all knew too well how poor his visibility would be in this rain, which would soon transform the jungle into a misty, unfamiliar labyrinth.
Yeah, wouldn't you be like, all right, I should probably postpone this a little bit
I mean,
for it to stop raining?
But still, like, it's been raining off and on for
Yeah.
days, though. You can't just be like, I'll just wait it out. Of course, some suggested postponing any action till the weather improved. I wish Bookend Gaming would just fucking read ahead. But if we delayed over the rain, it felt entirely possible we'd keep finding excuses to put off that first step.
We always just sit here talking while it spells out the answer.
They're watching the text come up, but we're looking at each other talking about the text that's
like,
coming
my
up.
God, why don't they just delay?
Yo, come on. Why didn't they think of this? We're so smart. Maybe tomorrow it would be too hot, or somebody would feel too sick. Before long, sheer inertia would glue us to our comfortable sleeping bags. Because he understood that, Mr. Ochi had made the firm decision to leave today, regardless of conditions.
It's because these bitches stole a salami.
Right? You don't want to stick around with a bunch of salami thieves. We watched him marching bravely down towards the forest, unable to keep the unease from our faces. If we'd had little rising sun flags to flap around, we wouldn't have looked out of place in a 60-year-old photograph. But unlike the relatives of those doomed soldiers, our anxiety was accompanied by an undercurrent of guilt. We weren't afraid for our teacher's well-being. We were worried about our own uncertain future. Will Mr. Ochi be all right? The words spilled spontaneously out of my mouth. Sakuma-senpai, who'd been standing at my side throughout the little ceremony, glanced over.
Do you like my little rising sun flags?
Well, them out of garbage bags.
To be honest, I don't think we should expect too much.
Our teacher sucks. He didn't do anything for 9 days. Sakuma's tone of voice was resigned, almost detached.
Oh.
The first to respond was Ibuki, who'd been standing at her partner's side, her limbs shivering in the cold rain.
I sure could use an ugly poncho right now.
He took half our food with him. We'd better get something to show for that. Canada-senpai, as always, scratching vigorously away at the bandage on her forehead, gave a little snort of laughter at Ibuki's words.
Don't make her talk, please. Damn it. I mean, wasn't the guy a tennis player in college? He's probably in decent... I don't know. He's pretty decent shape, right?
Next in line stood Kumhor-san, her miniature dog's face peeping out from the neck of her school uniform.
Oh, God, yes. Has she ever talked? I don't know.
Why would a tennis player be coaching a basketball team?
You could not keep track of all these voices.
Nope, I have no idea.
These kids need to start dying already for my benefit. At Komori's side, Sakurai was pressing her hands against her stomach wound, bending over slightly to shield it from the rain. As the conversation seemed to be moving neatly down the line, she tentatively opened her mouth and spoke.
Oh, Jesus.
She was just like demure and soft voice.
Sure.
Men who join the tennis team in college are really just looking to hit on girls, aren't they? You know, the same sort of guys who join the ski club in winter.
If I know anything about girls, they love people who play tennis and who ski. That's all it takes.
That is all it takes.
Just walk to a bar and be like, I play tennis, and they're just all over your jock.
I'll steal your salami.
Apparently amused to hear these words from the normally meek and refined Sakurai-senpai.
Oh, good.
Kazuki chuckled lightly at her side.
Oh, Jesus, it's already too much. Sadly enough, I'm afraid you're pretty much on the money.
Her eyes fixed on Mr. Ochi as his figure grew small in the distance. Koide-senpai responded to Kazuki's words with an anxious frown.
Hitler is like cash on the barrel. What does that mean?
You can't just say words and expect us to know.
Is he really going to be okay?
Now that he had set forth, there was nothing more we could do either way. It was in the hands of fate now. Sakuma-senpai gave a wry little snort. Lately, her prowess at playing cards had allowed her to push most of her chores onto others.
Jin!
And her attitude was getting increasingly irreverent as her leisure time grew.
I didn't know I voiced this many girls.
Right?
Nothing to do now but see how the cards fall.
Because I gotta do all the narration.
The odds might suck, but hey, gambling's no fun when you play it safe.
You gotta know when to hold them. Clearly irritated by Sakuma's flippant tone, Captain Sakashita finally broke her silent vigil.
Let's play Strip Gin.
This isn't a game. If you have the free time to make idiotic jokes, there are plenty of more productive ways you could be using it.
Yeah, don't mind me.
Sakuma's typically indifferent response earned her a brief, withering glare. After a moment, the captain turned sharply on her heel and stalked off toward her tent without another word.
They really want you to know that these girls aren't speaking the normal way they are. It said
yeah.
in her different from her usual tone like 6 times already.
They're acting weird. Well, it's because you're reading this text and it's like everyone's like, yeah, let's all just have a chat and everything. I mean, we're worried, but let's hang out. And it's like they're starving to death right now.
Yeah, they're sad because the teacher that wasn't even there left, but whatever.
Yeah.
So they're sad he left. It's raining. They're starving. It's day 9.
Yeah, some of them are hurt. They're pooping themselves a lot. Heaving a small sigh at this abrupt departure, Koide gave a light nod of acknowledgement to Kazuki, then trotted off to follow her partner.
No, it's kind of amazing to me that sack of shit can still rant like that under these circumstances. Really drives home just how miserable a human being can get. Watching her actually calms me down. Is this Sakuma's diary now? It just switches.
I stole this.
Yeah. Gotta keep my perspective or I'll end up like that. Kind of a good negative example, if nothing else.
Obeying someone simply because they outshout any voices of opposition is the height of foolishness. Over the days we'd spent here, that realization had sunk deeply into our very bones.
As has the dysentery.
At moments like these, everyone's gaze would naturally settle on Kazuki. They turned to a freshman, a small girl no taller than 150 centimeters,
I don't know what
with
that
eyes
is.
of absolute trust. Yeah, God.
Apparently that's
we're
small.
American. We don't... Royale with cheese.
150, that's a big number.
Right? She's fucking huge. The third years among us were no exception. The vaguely rebellious Sakuma seemed to have concluded in characteristically happy-go-lucky style that when Kazumi's around, life's a lot easier.
When Kazumi's around, life's a lot easier.
Thank you. And having essentially entrusted her life to Kazuki as a patient, Sakurai-senpai had even begun to politely address her with an honorific.
Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. Sakurai, Sakuma. There's too many. Putting aside her tone, Captain Sakashida's words were undeniably correct. If we have the time to enjoy a leisurely griping session, let's put it to use searching for food instead.
It's like pouring rain, so they have to be yelling, right?
Yeah. And it's hitting their ponchos.
Yeah. There was no changing the fact that we'd given half of our already meager stockpile to Mr. Ochi.
Jesus.
From today on, our meals would be all the more grimly austere. Even so, he'd only taken enough food for 2 days,
Oh, okay.
along with 2 liters of sterilized water in plastic bottles. From a simple estimate of the calories he'd be consuming and burning, he'd last 4 days at the longest. Although Mr. Ochi had estimated that 3 days of consistent progress would bring him to human habitation, we all knew perfectly well that he wouldn't be able to simply stroll straight through that forest. There'd probably be a tree. He'd have to walk a couple steps to the right, and then he'd be lost. But he himself was probably more familiar with that harsh reality than any of us, so we kept our silence.
I don't know what to do. I can't go straight anymore.
It's just a giant wall, like Game of Thrones wall.
Right. Ugh. We're gonna go into the forest in this rain.
What are you complaining about? Even when you do go, you're always just wandering around aimlessly instead of doing any actual work.
Sadly, I'm an aristocrat by nature. My body rebels against such peasant labor.
We're eating you first. I'd like to ask you a serious question, if that's all right.
What's up, Buttercup? Spit it out.
Can I please punch you in the face? One hard punch for the common good, in place of Mr. Ochi, who went into the woods alone while you cracked stupid jokes.
If it'd make you feel better, go for it. Just try not to hurt me too bad, okay? It's my moneymaker.
I hope I don't enjoy this. I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me.
How many times do I have to tell you, don't touch my hair?
Don't touch my face.
Harshly slapping aside Sakurai-senpai's hand, Ibuki stamped off towards the forest alone.
So they're all going.
How do I tell her that I love her? Watching her partner go, Sakuma spread her arms, turned her palms to the sky, and offered an exaggerated shrug of the shoulders to no one in particular, but soon enough she followed without a word.
She don't love me, God.
That's my Ibuki! All said and done, they were a friendly pair.
Here's another friendly pair.
We're the same character with different hair. We're drawn the exact same way.
What should we do with ourselves?
Fiddling with her rain-wet bandage as she brushed her hair out of her eyes, Kaneda-senpai turned to address her partner, Komori. Staring down at the dog nestled against her chest, Komori-senpai answered in an apologetic tone of voice.
I'm sorry. Ikun seems to be under the weather today. What? Again? That dog always gets sick when it rains. What's the deal anyway? Girl, when it's all humid, my bangs go so out of control. So like, hell's nah, or something.
That's not what he sounds like. Don't misgender my dog. He sounds like a cutie.
I think that's a bit far-fetched. Well, whatever. I'll go today. You can wait with your dog in the tent. I'm very sorry.
No, you're not.
Kaneda set off with broad strides, apparently trying to play up her self-assigned role as the manly big brother of the household. Komori hurried off as well, leaning over the dog in her uniform to shield it from the elements.
Well, then what about us?
Yeah, who knows? When I glanced over in Kazuki's direction, I was surprised to find Sakurai-senpai still loitering quietly by her side. When our eyes met, Sakurai gave me a gentle
We don't know.
tit grab.
It's another cut off.
Yeah, it's cut off at the bottom.
Oh, it's got multiple cutoffs.
Holy hell.
Well,
Weird. I don't understand that.
I don't either. Or maybe not? I don't know. I don't know if it cut something off there or not.
You're right.
What are you planning to do next, Sakurai-senpai?
Well, I owe you two a great many favors by now. If possible, I'd like to join you on your foraging expedition.
That would help, but are you sure you should be doing that?
I think it'll be all right. The injury to my stomach has been getting much better.
You can't go.
But
I understand your feelings, and I do appreciate the sentiment, but if you overdo things now, you'll take another turn for the worst. Sakurai-san, please return to the tent and look after Hirooka-san.
That's boring. She sucks.
Dead.
Foraging for food isn't much fun either. You weren't that sturdy a young lady to begin with, you know. Listen to your doctor's orders.
Yes, ma'am. Pew. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
Finger guns.
I'm squashing your head right now. Huh? What was that?
It was a sneeze, I think.
Huh? Seriously? What kind of sneeze is pecu?
Sakurai-san may certainly appear flawless on initial examination, but sadly, her sneezes are consistently and irredeemably bizarre. It's achu in Japanese.
What a weird mistranslation.
I'm self-conscious about that, you know.
Never mind that. Please head to your tent. The last thing I need is you catching pneumonia in this rain.
Pomona.
The pomona. My workload is quite large enough as it is, and I only got one arm.
Yes,
For
yes.
some reason.
Smiling sweetly, Sakurai patted Kazuki on the head, then obediently walked off towards her tent. That is, the large tent where Hirooka-san was waiting.
You know, now that I think about it, Kazuki seems like... Kazuki.
Kazuki.
Kazuki seems like the type that, like, her arm's actually fine, and now she's just doing this for another mind game of being
Yeah,
like, I
right.
don't have to do as much work, and I can be the leader if everyone's like, oh, she's hurt.
And then Amane is gonna like fall off a cliff, but Kazuki will reach out
We'll
and
catch
like,
her,
like,
yeah.
oh, your arm.
How dare you? Sakurai-senpai really is gorgeous.
True enough. Why don't you suck on her neck then?
Oh, yeah, that did happen. Weird.
And she has a rather pleasant, docile personality as well. She might have made a rather convincing beauty queen. It's a shame she likely won't be able to wear any bathing suits that expose the belly from now on.
Oh, that is a shame. As she watched Sakurai-senpai walk away, her thin arms shielding her stomach, Kazuki's profile betrayed a hint of sadness. Sakurai's parents had probably been planning to bring their daughter into the world of show business sooner or later. What would they think when they saw that wound across her belly?
Unsightly!
Right? Ugh.
Gah!
Now you're not, and you'll never be beautiful.
An ugly, jagged, dark red gash, discharging pus faster than we could clean and disinfect it.
It's like that girl from Ready Player One that's like,
Oh my god.
I'm so hideous.
I just recently saw that for the first time, and that
she's-
annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah, me
It's like,
too.
I still think you're beautiful. It's like, yeah, because she's a beautiful Hollywood actress.
Right.
And she just has some red on her
with
face.
like a tiny bit of red on her face,
Yeah,
like
it's
she
like-
accidentally spilled some oil on her face.
I'm so ugly. It's like, shut up. If they were really brave,
the casting and everyone who was involved in that movie would have made her like a disgusting woman, like that woman that's on the stripper pole at the beginning. It should have been her,
Right.
And he's like, "I love your personality anyway."
Yeah.
Because then no one would have fucking believed it. But it's pretty easy to go, "Oh, I can look past your flaws when
Right.
you're
It's
gorgeous."
barely a flaw.
Yeah, that annoyed the shit out of me so much.
Me too. I was like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, she would not be that self-conscious.
Like, if anything, dude, she's out of your league.
Yeah.
Fucking kick-ass nerd-looking guy. I don't even. Okay, just try to.
And another
Would they be
thing appeared,
overjoyed
yeah.
their daughter had at least survived or hurt by her misfortune?
We should be on our way as well.
Yeah, you're right. When I stared down at the misty jungle, I could see the indistinct shapes of human beings wriggling into the trees in search of sustenance.
Sustenance.
We were stumbling in fog, nothing to guide us, nothing but the unknown ahead, clawing desperately for survival. How long would this go on? How long until fortune smiled on us? How long until we could rest? What will be, will be. There's no way to know how this will end. That's supposed to be you, I think.
She was, well, yeah. I mean, she was quoting.
Yeah. For now, we just need to do what we can. For now, those words were still enough to keep my feet moving, but I was beginning to feel that the limits of my endurance might be approaching. Even so, as Kazuki made her way down the valley, the only thought in my mind was to follow her. By now, I'd stopped even considering any other course of action.
Oh.
Day 10?
I don't know. If it's
Maybe
it's just
the
later.
night.
No, it is.
The 10th day in the valley.
Mm.
Rain yet again. I'm beyond sick of it. The instant it starts coming down, I can just feel all the energy draining right out of my body. My head feels like a brick. Even inside the tent, the water just keeps seeping into everything. Probably thanks to that constant moisture, there's this increasingly nasty smell of moss and mold in the air.
Or it's the dead girl.
For the last few days, the rain has been growing heavier. It feels like we've been entering the rainy season in earnest. I can't tell if this is in the book or if she's saying this. Today it's very
I
persistent
think it's
storm,
written.
and I don't think it's likely to let up anytime soon. Somehow I can tell from the sound of the raindrops against the canvas.
I mean, she's probably sitting here writing it.
Right. On that subject, the bigger raindrops that happen to sneak directly through the cracks in the trees hit the tent with random timing, making the sound very hard to tune out. It's like Chinese water torture. It's getting maddening at this point, although I suppose my empty stomach is the major cause of my irritation. I'm hangry. I've picked up this persistent vocal tick of moaning, "Arg, I'm hungry." I'm a pirate, at random intervals. Recently, Kazuki started to get pissed off by
The
it.
gang really loves it. It's a huge laugh.
My dad's not here to go, "Hi, hungry, I'm Dad." She'll shoot me that little frown of hers and say, "I'm well aware of that, thank you." If I keep complaining anyway, she ends up yelling, "Shut up and go to sleep," or something.
Of course you're hungry. You're like 200 centimeters tall. Or
You're a huge
whatever.
bitch.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how centimeters work.
Excuse me, but I don't remember saying any such thing.
Don't read over my shoulder.
Huh? Boop. As I recall, I merely said, when there's nothing to be accomplished by moving, sleeping is a vital job in its own right.
Yeah, but I unnerded it. Jeez, Kazuki, don't peek over my shoulder when I'm writing in my diary.
Did you write the neck-sucking thing in there? I bet you did.
Are there drawings?
I didn't peek at anything. You've simply been speaking out loud as you write.
Well, there you go.
I had no choice but to overhear, you know?
Huh? No way.
Seems you weren't even aware. This is quite the serious condition. Do be careful about this, Amane. You were rather reminiscent of a chef mumbling complaints to himself as he cooks his customers' pork cutlets. Distinctly creepy.
I don't even make pork cutlets here. Why did he order this? I'm fucking pissed.
The heck? Oh, yeah.
What the heck is with that analogy? I don't really get it. But can you not stare seriously into my eyes as you call me creepy? It's not doing wonders for my self-esteem.
Here, I'll let you have a snail I caught. Gnaw on that and cheer up a bit.
Ew. Ugh, I'm sick of escargot. I really want to eat something that isn't a slippery little bug for once.
Pretend it's caviar. Snails are land mollusks, you know. I don't care! I don't care at all about anything you say.
This is not relevant.
Well, I suppose they're all invertebrates, so the distinction may seem somewhat academic, but more importantly, Amane.
Huh?
If you feed it a certain thing, it'll turn blue.
Kazuki pointed to her cheek with one finger, as if to tell me I had a grain of rice stuck in the corner of my mouth.
Give me a kiss.
After a brief moment of confusion, I brought my hand up to my face. My fingers quickly found something slimy on my cheek. That is to say, a leech.
Well, how'd that get
God
there?
damn it, now she's got to suck on your cheek. Ah! I'd grown exceptionally tough-minded about this sort of thing. Another leech wasn't going to get a scream out of me this late in the game. Carefully peeling the creature off my cheek, I held it between the fingertips of both hands, dug my nails into its body, and ripped it apart.
Yeah, we're like 60 hours into this game.
Right? This was another lovely side effect of the rain. Leeches had begun to find their way inside our tent.
And they're flying through the air anyways.
Right? After waking up, peeling the bloodsuckers off my body was becoming the first part of my daily routine.
Oh, God. That's terrible.
First and
Ugh.
foremost, I had to peel them off my eyelids.
Ugh.
Next, the ones sticking to my neck, wrist, and ankles. The leeches seem to have a particular fondness for these points where the body grows narrow. Other than that, they'd also go for places where the skin was thin, the back of my knees and elbows, my armpits, my groin. There were even a few that burrowed in between my toes,
Ugh.
as if trying to make themselves a cozy little nest. So cute. The first few times this happened, we'd shriek hysterically when we woke, but after a few days, we'd lost the will to even moan. And either our bodies had developed a resistance to the Hirooka, or we'd just gotten used to treating the bites, and the trickle of blood from the wounds would now stop after only an hour or so. Kazuki speculated our growing sodium deficiency might be affecting the salinity of our blood, but there was no way to tell for sure.
So a girl walks in. There was leeches on my vagina.
Oh my god!
Am I pregnant now?
It's not the tentacle monster I signed up for! As the day crept into evening without a break in the rain, Kazuki and I headed to the large tent in order to visit Hirooka-san and Sakurai-senpai. Outside, I started the usual fire under the primitive stove, made the usual thin, watery weed soup, and boiled the usual bucket of hot water. We're getting through these days crazy fast now.
She's giving up caring.
Yeah.
Writing so descriptively.
With the gruel in my right hand and the hot water in my left, except she had to make sure to write which hand everything was in, I made my way to the hospital tent. It was important to remember which was which in which hand. Shut up, game. Stop trying to correct me.
It is important to remember which hand, Travis.
Is it important to write it? Since it was no longer obvious which was the water and which was the gruel. Calling it gruel was a bit of a joke by this point.
Tried to say gruel and cool at the same time.
Cool gruel. At a glance, it looked more like stone soup.
That's another, what's that movie? Mean Girls joke.
I don't remember that at all.
She says gruel when the boy looks at her. And she's like, oh, I tried to say great and cool at the same time.
Oh, God, I don't remember that at all. Even so, since we were mixing in a bit of the rice distributed to Kazuki and me, the wounded Sakurai and Hirooka were still eating slightly better than the rest of us.
I boiled the... Oh, that's you.
I boiled the water.
I wanted to boil the water.
I'm going to take credit.
Thank you, Amane. Could you please sterilize this washcloth in the water and then use it to wipe Hirooka-san's body?
Yeah, will do. Kazuki didn't turn around when I entered the tent. She was steadily unwinding the yellow-stained bandages from Sakurai's stomach and removing the gauze from her wound to be replaced. We'd washed the gauze over and over in boiling water to the point it was beginning to blacken. It made for all the more striking a contrast against the yellow pus that permeated its surface. No matter how many times we carefully disinfected Sakurai's laceration, the separation wasn't showing any signs of stopping. Man, I would just give up. As bad as it is, I would just give up on them at this point. If we weren't in this situation, surely it wouldn't have been difficult to treat, but given our unsanitary conditions and utter lack of medical supplies, we simply couldn't stop the bacteria from multiplying. Above all else, the patient wasn't getting the nutrition her body needed to fight its way to recovery. When I reached out for the dirty gauze in order to sterilize it for reuse, I noticed something squirming on its surface.
Goddamn leeches everywhere.
It was a maggot, thrashing its fat little body madly from within the depths of the pus that had soaked into the gauze and almost seemed to be consciously trying to crawl back towards Sakurai's stomach.
There, see, you're gonna need the leeches.
Yeah, oh my god.
Ugh. I'm all right here. Please focus on Hirooka-san. I just love saying her name.
Okay. Immersing the washcloth, a strip of cloth cut from an old t-shirt, in the hot water, I left it to soak and began to unbutton Hirooka-san's uniform.
Would you really put that in parentheses in case someone reads it someday?
Yeah, someone reads that and goes, "You guys had washcloths this whole time? I had no idea."
Well, actually, it
Now
was
I
a
gotta
strip
go back.
of cloth out cut from an old t-shirt.
Yeah, I gotta go back and reread the whole thing.
She's got like a little footnote. She's got a little 1 after the word washcloth, and then in the index.
He's like flipping back to the back of it. Wait a second.
Oh, now I'm more immersed.
Wait, why does this one say neck sucking? Where was that? At first she'd been quite embarrassed to be seen naked, but by now she submitted quietly without even squirming. She might simply have lost the energy necessary to feel shame. Hirooka-san's chest had withered dramatically since the first time I'd wiped her clean. Her ribs stood out distinctly against the surface of her skin.
Not attractive at all anymore.
And that skin was mottled here and there with small white flecks. The small fuzzy little spots could be dusted off by hand. At first I thought they'd be something like cotton dust from her sleeping bag. But when I asked Kazuki, I learned for the first time that mold can grow on a living human body.
Ugh.
Hirooka-san was covered in pale white mildew.
She's dying.
Yeah, she's done for. Hold on just a second, okay? I'll wipe it off with a hot towel right now. It's actually made from a t-shirt. Huh? What? I didn't hear you. Hirooka's dry, cracked lips were moving slightly.
Sorry, it's the mold.
I lowered her ear to my mouth.
My ear to her
My
mouth?
ear to her mouth, yeah.
That was...
I don't know how to listen to people.
I just want to die.
I smiled. It's okay, it's just a little mold. Scooping the washcloth out of the hot water with a pair of chopsticks. Delicious. I waited for it to cool below scalding, then gave it a vigorous squeeze.
My whole body is so itchy. I'm going out of my mind. I can't take this anymore.
Hold on, I'll get you clean in no time. I dropped a moderately hot towel against Hirooka-san's body and began to wipe. The mold came off cleanly, but underneath there were innumerable angry, swollen red welts where fingernails had dug into her flesh. You really need to not try to scratch, remember? The more she scratched, the more she spread the mold across her body.
Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. I just couldn't stand it.
Wide-scale, unrelenting itchiness is an absolute torment. No matter how firmly you're told not to scratch, you'll unconsciously claw at your body while asleep. Hirooka-san's reflexive habit had grown so extreme that we'd actually tried binding her hands to prevent this. That night, she had woken the entire camp screaming.
Tape oven mitts to her hands.
I was thinking that too. Or she's like rubbing her back against Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah.
Writhing her body against her restraints, she had scraped her body against the hard ground, crying again and again for help.
Thank you, Suo-san. That feels nice.
When I wiped her body clean, the itchiness would reduce at once. She described it as almost a blissful sensation. Even so, that comfort would last an hour or two at most. Once wrapped up in her sleeping bag, the itchiness would return as her body temperature began to rise. I was now making the time-consuming trip to wipe her clean many times a day.
Sorry, I'm nothing but a burden, aren't I? I really am sorry, but I'm sure I'll die soon, okay? Until then, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't talk like that, alright? I'm just wiping you off. I'll do that much anytime. Try to cheer up. Stop freaking me out. If anything, it was bitterly sad to know there was nothing more I could do for her, no matter how hard I tried.
I say she's holding it together pretty well for how she normally is. Amane, I mean.
Right, yeah. She's hardened.
Suo-san, I'll repay your kindness someday.
Yeah, you do that. I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Yeah.
So first off, you've got to survive this, right?
You can rub a cloth on my naked body anytime. Even if I die, I'll never, ever forget this.
I don't think you know how dying works. As she spoke, tears began to run in little streams down Hirooka-san's face.
It just goes like supernatural, and she, as an angel, rescues Amane, and we're just like, what the hell?
It cuts to present day, and Amane's looking over your shoulder, and Hirooka's looking over her shoulder like, I'm glad you showed
She
him.
looks up into the clouds, and there's Abraham Lincoln and a crocodile.
Oh, amazing. Please don't say stuff like that, okay? It's fine. You're not going to die. Wiping a tear from Hirooka-san's cheek with the tip of my finger, I reflexively brought it to my mouth.
Sorry, I need the salt.
Hirooka-san's tears were still salty. I was slightly envious of that.
Good. 11?
11.
Ooh, man, we are killing it.
Yeah, just plowing through this. The 11th day in the valley. It was still raining. It had never stopped raining. There was nothing to do but sit around shivering and wait for the weather to clear. Doing nothing all day took a surprisingly heavy toll in its own right. I should have brought a switch. After 10 minutes or so of aimless idleness, you'd be seized by an anxious, impatient need to do something, anything. But it was impossible to step outside even briefly without being drenched in a downpour. The cold rain would drain your energy with terrifying swiftness. And once you got wet, you stayed that way. Oh, excuse me. I'm dying.
Already? Oh no.
The leeches! We knew it was dangerous to stay in soaked clothes, but we just didn't have the means to get them dry. The constant seeping rainwater had begun to corrode the thin material that made up the bottom of our tent. Lying down, even with the buffer of the sleeping mat, would leave our whole bodies sopping wet. We had no choice but to sit and wait. In the afternoon, the rain slowed to a heavy drizzle. I had just managed to get a cooking fire going when an eerie sound began to echo across the camp. Someone was singing loudly. It was unmistakably Ibuki's voice.
Old Man River.
Take me home. Finally lost it, huh?
Kaneda laughed harshly, an ugly, contorted excuse for a smile on her face.
Shut the hell up, Ibuki.
In an attempt to end the mournful, grimace-inducing dirge, Kaneda-senpai hurled a rock in Ibuki's direction.
Oh god, she's dead!
The stone fell a few feet.
What?
A few feet.
What happened?
Well, I don't know. Few feet short. A few short sweet?
A few short, sweet feet later.
Toot sweet. And Ibuki turned in our direction to examine it. Her face was ghastly white, her skin dull. It looked as though she had aged 20 years in the last few days. Picking up the muddy stone, Ibuki pressed it to her nose and sniffed curiously. Apparently deciding it wasn't food, she tossed it casually aside and continued her song.
Oh god, she's gone crazy.
When the world grows warped around you, those who can't bend simply break. But watching Ibuki caterwauling idly up at the rain-cloud-filled sky as if to summon the sun, she's singing the sun song, I wondered if derangement might sometimes be a blessing rather than a curse.
What is wrong with her? She goes totally off into La La Land like that every once in a while. But after a while, she'll start talking normally again, and eventually she's back to the same old Buki.
She's like, hey, Ryan Gosling. Love La La Land.
It apparently a symptom of undernutrition.
You mean malnutrition?
No.
So what? Oh, so what? Are we going to end up like that eventually, too?
Kaneda-senpai, were you on a diet before coming here or anything like that?
Nope.
Nope. I'm a cat now.
Yeah.
Then I think you'll probably all be alright.
Yeah.
From what Kazuki had told me, Ibuki had been repeatedly subjecting herself to severe gimmicky diets over the last few months, leaving her with chronic vitamin deficiencies.
Oh, dears.
Since arriving here, that pre-existing condition had apparently worsened the effects of malnutrition
Or
on her
undernutrition.
body, giving rise to impaired brain function.
Wonderful. Just what we need. To be honest, Kamori is not holding it together too well herself.
Kamori was still shut up in their tent, nursing her dog through a high fever. Apparently she was feeding every scrap of her rations to the animal.
She actually nursing her dog?
Ugh.
Her family runs a candy store, you know. Both her parents were always busy, never really had the time to bother with her, and she doesn't really have any brothers or sisters, so I guess she sort of made dogs into her siblings, or something. I don't know, they're weird.
You
She
know that
uses the
old-
term fur babies.
You know that old story? People who own candy stores always abuse their children.
I mean, I know where she's coming from, but
Even as Kaneda spoke those carefully neutral words, her mouth was twisted with undisguised loathing. Her true feelings were written on her face. She unambiguously hated that feverish, immobile little dog. It was of no use to her, so she wanted it to disappear. It was as simple as that.
I just want her to pet me instead.
I want to be in her shirt.
Everyone's getting weaker and weaker. At this rate, we're all going to die.
I understood from the tone of her voice that this wasn't more of the usual gallows humor. I understood with such painful clarity that I wished she'd said nothing at all. Glancing up at the sky as the rain began to intensify yet again, I slowly picked myself up off my seat of rock. I can't take this. Couldn't we at least catch a break on this rain? It was adding insult to injury. Knowing full well that it was ridiculous, I did my best whiny preschooler impression and asked Kazuki to make the rain stop.
Actually, I can do that. As I keep telling you, I'm not God.
Come on, you're in the same neighborhood, right? Everyone called Kazuki a witch, well, except for the ones who called her a monster.
It might have been bitch. I'm not sure.
In that case, little rain magic shouldn't be too much to ask for, right? I mean, I knew it was idiotic, but asking's free. In response to my challenge, Kazuki closed both her eyes and interrupted the text and exhaled heavily through her nose as if to say, "Oh, very well then," and lifting both arms toward the sky.
Oh my god, it is going to get
She spoke to
supernatural.
the heavens.
Her arms? She lifted her arm.
Yeah. To wit. Oh, rain, I command you to begin. And exceptionally, that's you.
Oh, an exceptionally half-hearted command that dissolved into
That's
an
not me
open-mouthed
reading,
yawn
that's
at the end.
Yeah.
I appreciated that she was considerate enough to play along with my nonsense, but if she was going to bother, couldn't she at least pretend that she was taking it seriously?
Yeah, do some sort of rain dance or something.
Yeah.
All right,
It
the
worked!
sun!
But well, as it turned out, an hour or so after that, maybe the rain really did come to a sudden stop. You had to laugh.
Oh my god, it worked.
Kazuki craned her neck back, idly gazing up as the clouds flowed peacefully by.
She showed too much of her power.
Right?
Don't knock it until you try it, as they say.
And spoke characteristically impudent words in her characteristically sleepy voice. Staring at her face from the side, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The witch theory was seeming increasingly plausible. Not that, on reflection, I really cared if she was some sort of black magician. Magic magician?
Blagic magician.
It'd be nice to have one of her on our side right now. If I ask her to spirit everyone to safety for her next trick, I wonder what'd happen.
Actually, if you're gonna wish for a mage, you probably want a white mage right now.
Right?
Asking's free, after all. I looked over at Kazuki, debating whether to throw this new challenge at her, but before I could decide, she stared up at my eyes and spoke.
Then again, I guess if you were a black magician, black mage, you could just launch fireballs into the sky or something.
Yeah, or like float everyone out.
Yeah. It can't be everyone. I already said as much.
I keep telling you, it's bad manners to answer the question before I ask it.
Your thoughts always appear in bold type on your face the instant they pop into your head. It's quite convenient.
There's this text floating in front of us all the time.
Yeah.
It's backwards, but you could still read it.
Don't blink or you'll interrupt it.
It can't be everyone. Her tone of voice was surprisingly breezy, but somehow also exceptionally firm, as if the outcome was set in stone, as if she was merely repeating an established fact. Kazuki's internal calculations must have established something very close to 100% possibility that more of us would die in this place. I repeatedly asked her about the details of her predictions, receiving only variations of the frustrating non-answer. If I told you, the future I've predicted would change.
I've seen a million futures.
I watched The Butterfly Effect. When I finally told her that changing this future sounded like a pretty good idea to me, she coolly replied, "Even if it would mean none of us survive at all," and I found myself at an utter loss for words. Well, maybe not utter. There was still one old reliable that came to mind. You know?
Bop it. Why haven't we been playing this the entire time? Did you know you can win?
It ends after 100.
Are we done here?
Don't look at me like that. I'm perfectly aware that I'm an idiot. You don't have to rub it in. Even now, Kazuki said the possibility of everyone surviving wasn't quite zero.
I mean, there's already some dead people, so...
Right.
Yeah.
By believing in those words, I could hold on to hope. If I had hope, I could find the strength to go on. Yeah, that's right. I have to be stronger than this. But it was hard. It was very hard. A full 2 days had passed since Mr. Ochi had left the camp, and as always, there were no signs of rescuers active nearby. Naturally, our teacher hadn't returned either.
Whoa.
Oh.
What happened?
The dog still looks okay. Everyone still kind of looks okay.
I was gonna say,
They didn't want to draw them all, like, emaciated and...
the dog's just chilling. He's like, this is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of like it down here.
Is Mr. Ochi lying dead in a ditch somewhere?
At first, I was like, why are they, like, sitting on a hill? But I think it's just the camera
Yeah,
angle.
it's just a Dutch angle. It shows
To unease you.
Yeah.
Maybe he's gotten to some safe place and just abandoned us here.
I don't know who all's talking. What do we do if he never comes back?
Amid a flurry of aimless speculation, we passed the days waiting for help to arrive.
Either way, it's her writing it, so...
Yeah.
They didn't come today, but they'll definitely come tomorrow. They didn't come today either, but they'll probably come tomorrow. Mr. Ochi said he'd get help no matter what when he left here.
But not just for himself.
Not even half the group really believed it. He
just-
abandoned us because we stole his sausage.
He's just going to yell from the top of the ravine with like holding a giant salami.
Yeah, I found it. It was up here the whole time. Imagine that. Someone threw it up there to...
Yeah, to get reception.
Yeah. There's a phone taped to it. But even so, somewhere deep down, every one of us was clinging to that glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, he'd save us all.
Yay!
He probably won't.
We're cruising through.
Yeah, geez, we're still on day 10. Well, this might be day 11 now.
It was 11, I
No,
think.
it is 11, yeah, so we might be 12, because it's... I don't know. Is this all that's left? Or how many are left? 10? 11?
It's not all of them.
Because there's the two
Well-
injured in the tent.
No. Because this is either the
That's the
captain...
captain.
Or Canada's not there.
Yeah, that's the captain and her
This
partner.
was... I
I don't remember her name.
I don't remember. Midori.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Canada.
Yeah, that's Canada and Kumhor.
Kumhor, Sakuma, Ibuki.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. No, there's 10.
Well, maybe it is. Amane and Kazuki.
Yeah, because there's that group and then there's the two injured.
Right. Banjo Kazuki's not there, and then the other two are in the tent.
Right.
But the Doge is pretty chill.
They're going to eat that dog.
He stole the salami.
That dog is getting... I bet. She probably did steal the salami to give to the dog, and they're going to fucking be like, well, now we have to eat the dog.
Yeah, it's full of salami.
Yeah, it tastes salty and salami-y. Oh, my God. This is getting kind of depressing.